Hello and welcome again to Berkshire News and Politics with your host, Wisdom DaCosta, and of course,
James Aldridge, local democracy reporter for Reading Borough.
and promoted to Reading Borough, which is a very happening area by the looks of things. James, what's happening in Reading at the moment?
Well, the biggest news recently is that 620 homes have been approved on outline at the old Royal Mail depot site in Caversham Road, which is a site just to the northwest of the Reading train station. And this plan involves 620 homes being built in a series of tower blocks and I believe 7 townhouses, which is a curious little addition. But this is one of the biggest planning applications that Reading has seen, and it recently got approved on outline. Another planning application will have to be submitted, dealing with the design of how the development will look, but the principle of development has been approved. So there will be 620 homes built on the Royal Mail depot site. The existing buildings will have to be demolished to make way for this new development. But yeah, that's gone ahead, and it'll probably change central Reading forever, because the tallest tower in the development will be 23 stories tall.
Wow.
So rather tall, and probably a competitor for one of the biggest buildings in Reading.
Okay.
And
So
tall.
on the bright side, it'll have a great view over Reading and the surrounding area. But
Yeah.
yet another. I mean, how many tower block developments have we covered on this show so far? That's probably about 6 to 8, all residential, all towards the town centre. So you're right, the face of Reading will be transformed forever.
Well, I'd say there's probably about from my memory, there's probably about 3. There's the old SSE site, which has been approved on appeal. I think we covered that in our last episode. There's a plan for the redevelopment of the Reading Station, the Reading Station retail park as well, which is currently the home of Aldi and the Range in the town centre. That could be coming forward. I think that's in the hands of the Government Planning Inspectorate. And then there is a fresh plan for the there's another fresh plan for the retail park, which is just over the road from Reading Prison. So yeah, we've got three massive developments, and tied together, they will be over 1,000 homes if they all come forward, and if they all actually get built as well.
This one alone is 620,
Yeah.
let alone the others. So we're talking about thousands of new places to live and flats in Reading, and a lot of major construction work in Reading over the next few years, which is going to be interesting given the traffic situation that exists in Reading even today. Do we need those new homes in Reading? Is there any comment about that?
Well, I mean, it's in these areas. All the areas that I mentioned are within the local Reading local plan. Reading, it's like it was strongly incentivized that Reading does have a local plan, so it can steer future development in the town, in the borough. I probably should say, because it could be a city soon. But yeah, I mean, I suppose there is pressure from central government for new housing developments to come forward, and and the pressure is on from the local authority. I think it's probably more of a government incentive to have houses built rather than the council's desire. The council's Reading Borough Council is probably less resistant to homes being built than Woking Borough is. I definitely see that, and Reading Borough Council actually does make its own homes, but a lot of the times those are going to be affordable and the social housing stock, and these new probably going to be quite different. These are probably going to be for the private market, and for the most part, 1 to 2 bedroom, which is a debate in itself, because Reading Borough Council has actually said that it would like to see more family-size homes being built, so a minimum of 3 bedrooms. But I think many of the plans that come forward now, the ones that I've just mentioned, 1 to 2 bedroom, or so yeah, they're probably a little too small.
Okay, I mean, it's an interesting point, and it's one thing that we cover in other councils, which is that although you may need 20,000 homes, actually, what's the mix of homes that you need for the people who are coming to your area and who live in your area? And are the homes that you've got in the pipeline, do they meet that need, or is there going to be, do we have enough 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, or are we going to have some sort of acute shortage in one specific area, for example, family with 2 bedrooms? That's a question, I suppose, for developers, and we'll see what happens in the future. So tell me about the public pressure, not public pressure. This is clearly going to put pressure on local health services. And have the health services talked about how they might, the CCGs talks about how they will meet the demand for extra health care provision?
Well, the interesting thing about this plan is that the developers have sort of said that they want to have a health centre in this site, in the old Royal Mail Depot site on Caversham Road. However, the CCG, the local clinical commissioning group, has expressed scepticism about the need for one in this site. A health centre in this site, which is rather bizarre. And Councillor Tony Page is one of the leading councillors. He questioned that as well. We was thinking, well, why is the CCG saying no to a new health centre in this area, given the amount of new housing which could be coming forward in the next 10 years or so? So, I mean, if anything, the CCG is sceptical as to the need for it. Need for a new health centre, which is quite interesting, actually.
Well, it really is, isn't it? Because what is clear is that we're going to have thousands, if not almost 10,000 new people in the centre of Reading living in tower blocks, and that's absolutely happening. That's the bit we know about. What we don't know is how are they going to be provided services for, both in terms of shopping, transportation, and healthcare. And the other aspect is, of course, how is their mental health and well-being and the environmental aspect going to be looked at, because this is obviously an outline planning application. So we wait to see how this develops, and look forward to you telling us more about this story in the future. So let's move on. What else is happening in Reading? Because clearly Reading is really a happening place at the moment. Lots of big issues happening there.
Well, going from one health issue to another, there's a date has been set for the Royal Berkshire Hospital upgrades to take place. Currently, there's the Royal Berkshire NHS Foundation Trust, which effectively runs the hospital, is engaging in a a planning process for how it hopes to deal with the challenges it faces in the future. This consultation is called Building Berkshire Together. And so if you search Building Berkshire Together, it'll come up on the internet, and you'll be able to see what the deal is with that. Yeah, a date has been sort of given for the redevelopment of the Royal Berkshire Hospital, if it is to be redeveloped on its current site. There's effectively 3 options for the future of Royal Berkshire Hospital. There's one is the partial redevelopment of the current site, which would include a new emergency care centre and elective treatment centre. So that's quite a modest proposal, but still one on the table. The second would be the wholesale redevelopment of the current site. So I imagine that would involve retaining the existing old building, which looks a bit like a temple, but making all the facilities new. or a complete relocation to a new site at either Green Park, which is in South Reading, someplace near the Medeski Stadium, which again is in South Reading, or even Thames Valley Science Park, which is not in Reading Borough at all. That's in Wokingham Borough in Shinfield. So again, another site south of Reading. So those are the main options being considered in the building partnership together process.
Okay, I suppose a couple of questions, things strike me is clearly ideally you want your healthcare facilities within the borough, especially as the borough, or hopefully to become a city, becomes more urbanized, more densely populated. Then you want a certain travel time for your, to be close enough to your hospital to be able to get there in time to save lives. And the further away you go, the more difficult the ability to save lives becomes. So I would thought that something close into town would be better. I guess Green Park would be ideal. So the question is, why do we need a new hospital? What is the issue? Is it that we don't have enough capacity for all the new people coming on board, or even for the people who exist in Reading today? Is it that we don't have the whole range of services that we need, given the way healthcare or the needs of the population is changing? Or is it because of the building is actually falling apart? Or all three?
Well, I think it's probably a mixture of the first and the third. To be perfectly honest, I think there will be a need to increase capacity in the future. That's quite clear, and there is quite substantial issues with the existing building. So the issues were raised in a meeting of Reading Borough Council. I believe it's health and wellbeing type meeting, and it was sort of highlighted that it's costing the trust £10 to £12 million to keep the existing old building, the temple-like building, up, and a further £2 million is being spent to maintain the sort of western side of it. What you said about the building crumbling, I don't know whether it's literally crumbling, but yeah, it's really, really substantial cost to keep that building up. And they did say the health professionals that was presenting it did say that that old building can't be used for clinical use. Okay. So there's not much use for that old building, sadly, but it probably will have to remain because it's listed, and it is quite a prominent building.
Yeah, I expect parts of the building are listed, but as it's grown like Topsy over the decades, parts are probably not listed. So it sounds like a great site for redevelopment, which sort of implicates a new site with travel times, maybe in Green Park. I'm just speculating here, which would be the ideal solution for a whole new build and then redevelop the other site and get some of your money back.
One thing I would say is probably it would be sensible to have an accident and emergency close by to closer to the M4 to deal with crashes. And to deal with people who have been affected by crashes. I mean, people do get taken to the Royal Berkshire Hospital, but in serious instances, the helicopter is used, and people get taken to John Radcliffe Hospital. So yeah. I think in Oxford. So I think it would be nice to see a new A&E in somewhere close to the M4, and that'll reduce the need for ambulances to go all the way into Reading. They'll just have to go quite close to the M4 and get those people the care they need, and hopefully the life-saving opportunities would be higher if it's closer by.
Okay, so remind me, how can people access this consultation? And also, when are they looking to make a decision to start maybe even building work?
Well, so if the decision is made to redevelop the current site in central Reading, off London Road and in Craven Road, that could begin between 2025 and 2030. in the next few years. Even that's quite rather soon, and people can get involved in the consultation and give their views by searching "building Berkshire together" on the internet, and that's a forum for people to make their voices known. The only other thing I would mention is that the Woking Conservatives are calling for a all-new hospital to be built in Woking Borough, to be built at that Thames Valley Science Park location in Shinfield. So yeah, locally, it's divided opinion.
Okay. Well, a divided opinion amongst the politicians. I think ordinary people are saying, yes, we want a bigger, better hospital because we need better.
But it depends where. That's one of the main issues. Yeah.
So let's move on. Another consultation you've got in mind here. What's happening here? So this is I understand that there is a parking consultation which people are alleging has been hijacked for some various purpose.
Yeah, so this is a consultation to change parking restrictions in the Mount, which is a residential street in East Reading. I believe it's got about 52 homes and 56 car parking spaces are within the Mount. It's a mixture of apartments, detached homes and bungalows, which are primarily for elderly people. That's what the Mount is contained of at the moment, and it is also the location of a place called the Progress Theatre, which is a independent theatre company in Reading, and that's also located in the Mount. Now, currently, the regime is that the parking regime is that people do need permits, and the parking restrictions are currently in place Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For 2 hours, a maximum of 2 hours with no return within 2 hours. And there is a proposal to change these parking restrictions and make them tougher. And that would mean the parking restrictions being in place from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Sunday for a maximum of 2 hours with no return within 2 hours. So those are the restriction proposals, and is very much divided opinion. Some residents of the Mount itself are saying that they would like the restrictions to be in place to bring the restrictions in line with other streets which have parking restrictions.
That's a very odd thing for a resident, very altruistic for them to say.
Well, I mean, they
want to be as bad as everyone else. It's what they're saying.
Well, the thing, and then there's other people who want to say that it should stay like it is, so that people can park to watch productions at the Progress Theatre, because currently there aren't restrictions on the weekends, but other residents are saying people's carers are struggling to park. And if they have to park elsewhere, these carers might get a ticket. So there is a big debate raging over whether the parking restrictions should be changed or not.
Who's in charge of the parking, and what was the problem with the actual survey?
Well, Reading Borough Council runs the survey. It's a statutory survey, but one resident who supports the change, supports restrictions being tightened, has said that that people have been able to submit responses anonymously, which means that there's a possibility that people who have no association to Reading whatsoever can get involved in the survey and give their views. And this resident has said that the survey's effectively been hijacked by people who don't live in Reading, don't use the Progress Theatre, and they've been able to give their views, whereas the views of residents and the views of people who actually live in Reading or live in the surrounding area, they're not necessarily being heard, and they're worried about it.
So we've got the situation where they're saying that we're falling into two camps. Yes, we want the changes because it will help with making parking more sustainable around the theatre, and the others who are saying, no, actually, do you know what? We're happy with the way things are at the moment. So there is. Do we know how this is falling in terms of the vote? Do we know how many people are saying, yeah, we want more charges for longer periods, and how many people are saying no, we want the same, keep it as it is?
I think hundreds of responses have been received asking for the restrictions to be maintained as they are.
Yeah.
There are less people who are saying restrictions should be tightened. But again, this resident who's raised the complaint has argued that people who object to the restrictions being changed can come from Bristol, or they can come from anywhere in the country, or maybe even outside of the country.
Okay. What steps have Reading taken, and what have they said they've taken? Because a consultation, you can check people's IP, you know where they're from. What security steps have they taken to make sure that the vote or the consultation hasn't been manipulated? Is the first question. And the second question I have to ask is, actually, does the council care what people think? Are they just going to go ahead anyway?
Well, so I mean, the council has said that council spokesperson has said that what happened, how the consultation was conducted, is determined by national regulations and is routinely used by local authorities to propose and seal new traffic regulation orders, which effectively would be parking restrictions. The statutory consultation is open to anyone who considers themselves to be impacted by the proposals, so it is open to anyone, so they can make their arguments. And a decision will be made in the future. A decision was meant to be made in March about whether to do the proposed tightening of restrictions or not. But given the amount of given the amount of objections to it, the council has said, we want to go back to the drawing board to draw up maybe better parking restrictions and get more consensus among people, and it will be decided in June whether the restrictions are kept as they are.
So what the council is saying is that we are going to listen to the results of the survey, which is a tick. Well done, Reading Borough Council. But what they're not saying is that we've taken measures to ensure that this vote hasn't been rigged, or we haven't got double IPs or triple or without, So they're not commenting on what validation processes they've actually conducted.
Yeah. Then they just said that it's a statutory consultation, and they won't be changing, I think.
Okay, so they might come up with a compromise which is happy for everybody.
I mean, that's what may happen in June. So the next meeting of the traffic management subcommittee, where this was discussed, that's due to take place on the 15th of June, I believe. So that's when a decision is likely to be made, but no decision was made recently when it was brought up in March.
Right. So we've got two items of good news we close on. Well, I say good news. We'll see how it goes. So the first one is about a free bulky waste collection service, which is fantastic. And the second one is about applying fines in bus lanes during a pandemic when maybe there weren't no need for the fines in the bus lane because there's no traffic. Tell us more about the service, the new fantastic collection service, waste collection service, free.
Okay, so this is a free bulky waste collection service, which means that what the situation is that people have white goods, they have home furniture, they have garden furniture, which can't be simply put in a black bin. So what needs to happen is, previously what happened is that people would need to pay for a special collection to take place, so that these bulky waste items, so you're talking your white goods, your fridge freezers, your home furniture, garden furniture, cookers, and all that stuff. what used to happen is that you'd have to book a slot, TVs as well. You'd have to book a slot, and a special collection would come out, and you'd have to pay for that. Now, Reading Borough Council has introduced a free bulky waste collection service, which means that that people can book a collection for free for either 3 items or a fridge freezer. So it's one or the other. They get that free in a sort of 6-month period, cool down period, effectively. So that's the free element of it. And the charged for service will remain. So it's not as if all bulky waste collections will be free from now onwards in Reading Borough Council's area, but there is that saving for at the point of access.
Absolutely. So each resident or each household can get 1 item or 3 small items collected every 6 months. Got it. How do they?
Well, it's a fridge. So specifically, fridge or freezer. That's 1 item or 3 smaller items, and they don't even necessarily have to be smaller. They could be a large sofa, for example, that's no longer needed. But that's what they said. They said
they're making a distinction between a fridge freezer and other items.
That's how it appears in the policy that's been that's what they've introduced. Yeah.
So how can people access the service?
So it's not live yet. The free service is not live yet. People will be able to book, and I think it will be rolled out in July, I believe, or either June or July. So the idea is that the free services do start on June the 6th, which is a Monday, with residents able to book collections from the 23rd of May, which is also a Monday. So I think probably the week before, or a few weeks before, so they can book their free bulky waste collection service. It can be booked online or on the phone, I understand, by calling the regular Reading Borough Council number.
Okay, fantastic. And finally, the intriguing story of fines given out to motorists during the pandemic for using the bus lane when there probably wasn't any need for a bus lane.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's So at a policy committee, Reading Borough Council policy committee meeting this Monday, figures for the ways that the council regulates the roads and parking were released. So this includes illegal parking, fines for illegal parking, and it includes people going into bus lanes when they're not meant to. The upshot is that Reading Borough Council continue to charge people, continue to pursue these things. I'll be able to bring up some figures for you soon.
So how much they actually earned.
So I mean, the thing is, enforcement of illegal parking penalty charge notices actually costs more than the service costs to run. So effectively, the council made a £1.1 million loss in the pandemic year, which was 2020 to 2021. However, bus lanes actually made the council a surplus of £126,855. As you can imagine, thousands over those years, thousands of both parking fines and bus lane fines were issued. I'll be able to tell you now a total of 32,862 parking fines were paid by drivers. So those are the ones that are actually paid, and minus those charges which were issued but then cancelled on appeal, or dismissed for another reason. And then for the bus lane infractions, there were 44,000 bus lane infractions recorded in 2020 to 2021. Let me just get a exact figure for you. Give me a second.
So what they seem to be saying at the moment is that they are issuing a number of tickets which perhaps get appealed because they were not validly issued, or maybe there's some level of forgiveness. But the total cost of running the service is greater than the level of income they're getting for fines. Nevertheless, they are probably having the right effect in terms of managing Reading's traffic. So that cost of the service is probably not a negative thing. It's a good thing. The question, I suppose, is in relation to the bus lanes. I suppose it must be harder to get out of a ticket for a bus lane because either you did or you didn't, or either you were.
And they've got CCTV monitoring. And sadly, I picked up a fine last December, and they. I think I paid it online, and there was video evidence of my misdemeanor. So it is those ones are quite difficult to get out of. Of the 44,489 bus lane fines which were issued, 42,547 were actually paid. So you've got somewhere in the region of 2,000 plus which were cancelled. But yeah, obviously the vast majority of charges which were issued did have to be paid.
Okay. Are you sure they were cancelled, or are they just uncollectible because the person has disappeared?
That's interesting, and that's information I don't know, I'm afraid.
So James, we've come to the end of the show. Another great show from Berkshire News and Politics, today covering news in Reading. So goodbye from myself, Wisdom DaCosta.
And James Aldridge, Local Democracy Report.